Everyone, and happy Wednesday, happy hump day. We're about halfway through the work week. I hope things are going great for you all. I have a very special guest this evening. I have a gentleman who really needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is a special effects makeup artist. He is the man behind Post Mortem FX. Let's say a big hello and welcome to Mr. JD Ellis.
Oh, wow. Oh, shit. Hi.
Did we catch you at dinner?
No, I'm good. How we doing?
We're doing great. How are you this evening?
Good. Hello from the living room.
Hello. For those of you that don't know, JD is my husband, the poor unfortunate soul. We're the married. I thought it was time to share him and his work with everybody in our realm here. So for those that may not know who you are, would you mind giving a little rundown on who you are, what you do, all those good things about you?
Will any of this hold up in court?
I can't answer that question. Maybe, maybe not.
All right. Well, my name is JD Ellis. As she said, I do run Post Mortem FX. I've been running that since about 2010. It's just a little local shop here in Orlando. Kind of do a little bit of everything. But my love, of course, is the disgusting, the gory, the fun, the cringeworthy, realistic-looking stuff. Like, I enjoy character makeup and other fun stuff like that, but I really like getting my hands wet, if you will. So, yeah, I'm locally based here in Orlando, born and raised, Floridian. We're kind of rare down here. And, yeah, that's who I am. And your husband of now, what, 2 years? Going on 3?
Going on 3 years strong, been together for almost 7. A few people in the chat saying, hey, it's Jess, John, and Pam is in here also. Pam said that she's having a hard time hearing you, so I'm going to pump up your volume and let me know if you guys can hear him okay now.
Okay. And I'll try to talk a little bit louder and project.
Yes, project that manly voice of yours, good sir, if you will.
Okay.
Oh, hey, Chris, what's up? Chris Ballinger is in the chat room. Big hello. Now,
Yes.
All right, so you're getting all kinds of love. Lots of people chiming in, saying hello. Karina's in here. Pam says you're good now. We can hear you. Yay.
Sweet.
Awesome. Thanks for that, guys. This is why I love our chat. You guys are awesome. Now, I hear you brought a clip with you that you'd like us to play.
Yeah, we're going to show that at the very end or
Okay.
towards the end.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to show that right now.
All right. So JD brought a clip of some of his work that we're going to be playing towards the end of the little chat that we're having here. So make sure you stick around for the gory fun. I'm gonna rate that as an R because there's some good gore in there. But you mentioned that you've had Post Mortem FX around since 2010, but your love for special and makeup effects goes way before then. When did you first start getting interested in special effects makeup?
Well, this goes all the way back to when I was in, God, elementary school. Um, so this is way back. There was this wonderful music video called Thriller. And I was lucky enough to have the making of Thriller, which was a behind the scenes video that kind of showed how Rick Baker and his team made all of the zombies, how they turned Michael into the werecat, and just all that amazing stuff. It was a mixture of that, and there was a few cute little books back when I was young of how to make your own haunted house or how to make your own monsters, of which one of them I actually own now because of you. You found one of those books from the 80s for me. It was pretty awesome. But yeah, it sparked my interest at a very young age. So, I mean, at that age, I didn't really have my hands on any kind of professional, materials. So I was, taking mom's lipstick and making blood out of it, taking her eyeshadow and making bruising out of it. And of course, Rick's team said that the most effective way to have, good zombies was to bury those clothes to make them look, really realistic. So I was burying my clothes in my backyard at like the age of like 6 or 7, just trying to make it as realistic as possible. And for many years, I played with Wuchi's appliances because that's all you could get from Spirit Halloween, as well as the little cinema secret wheels to try to make my own stuff, or to make my own effects. But it wasn't until roughly about 2009 when I met this gentleman by the name of Rick Gonzalez with Rick Gonzalez Studio, Rick and Kay. Local makeup artist here in Orlando, has an amazing lineage of movies and just a wealth of knowledge and makeup history. He actually worked on the original Day of the Dead, as well as local movies like Automaton Transfusion and Zombies. Now, unfortunately, those were before my time working with him. But he did bring me on as part of his crew to work on a few more films after I learned some of the tricks to the trade from the master. This is about the time I started making my own wounds, sculpting my own stuff. He taught me how to make my own blood, of which we now have 4 different kinds, and just kind of gave me the intro on, how to act on set, how to be a makeup artist, how to carry yourself. And it's interesting because a lot of people think it's all blood, guts, and gore, and it goes way beyond that. Makeup, has been around for a really long time, and it's a very respected field. And I mean, you have to really respect those around you and understand where it came from to understand where you're going with it. It's not just YouTube videos and, oh, look, I cut myself, it has a very rich history to it that should be cherished. And I mean, there was a lot of makeup artists that came before us that paved the way for us to do this. You have your V. Neil and your Dick Smith and, all of the masters.
Now, you had mentioned in the beginning for your love for makeup, you were using mom's makeup wheels and burying your clothes in the backyard. So how thrilled was mom that you were taking her beauty makeup to create these wounds and where your love, first started to blossom?
Believe it or not, mom was very understanding. In fact, she took a lot of pictures of them. There's a picture of me as a zombie with my little sister where I had like a wax bullet hole in my head, which doesn't make a lot of sense now looking back at it because that zombie would have been like dead. But still, it was a really cool picture and kind of fun, and it just showed, what I was getting into at that age and where I was going with it. And I mean, my poor brother Josh, man, he lived with me for a few years and he was my muse. I put so much latex on that poor child. Just learning. And it's wild as a makeup artist because a lot of times people will ask, what makes a good makeup artist? And honestly, it's research, knowledge, and practice. That's all it is. Anybody can do makeup if you practice. And it's something that, you get better at over time. And it's amazing when you look at something you did 10 years ago and you compare it to something you do now, and you're like, wow, it's a lot better. Now, granted, a lot of that has to also do with materials. When you start improving your materials and you start improving your brushes and your makeup, it makes a huge difference. Because it just goes down a lot easier and you have a better overall finish and quality to what you're doing versus that Spirit Halloween makeup that'll dye your face for about 3 days. And I actually worked at Spirit Halloween for a short while many moons ago, and I can't tell you how many parents would come in with orange children going, I put this makeup on my child, why does it come off? It's like, all right, so you're gonna go get some Barbazol shaving cream and you're gonna soak the child.
Those are trade secrets. Shh.
Yes, they work. They work, especially if you're gonna get $3.99 tube makeup. It's one of the biggest tips I can say is, as far as makeup goes, it starts with quality makeup. Thankfully, we have some great stores here in Orlando, like AEO Studios and Embellish Effects, where you can actually order online versus ordering in person as well. So, I mean, you can have that stuff shipped to you, and it's just so much better for you versus the stuff you get from the stores around Halloween that have very dicey ingredients and may just make you a monster longer than you want to be.
I mean, I'll be honest, I've used grease makeup in my life before I knew what good makeup was. And we do have a question from Steve in the chat, which I'm going to get to in a second, but brief story. So the grease makeup that you buy in the stores, it's Florida and it's hot. And if you put that stuff around your eyes, you're going to sweat it into your eyes. And I had that happen to me at a Day of the Dead event, and I almost blinded myself with that makeup. So I had to quickly wash that off. So I wanted to kind of use that as a starter story to lead into what is a good makeup or a good beginner kit that someone could use that's maybe just starting out and starting to explore makeup, and maybe mom has hidden her makeup away so they can't get into that.
Personally, I would suggest starting with something like cream makeups. Cream makeups, you can get a really nice coloration with. They wash off with soap and water. And if you get it anywhere near around your lips or your eyes, you're not going to have that wonderful reaction versus something like, say, alcohol activated makeup, where you have the tendency of getting alcohol in your eyes, which, you only do once if you're good or if you're lucky. It hurts like hell. When you're first learning, you realize real quick, you don't want to put anything alcohol activated anywhere near your eyes if possible. So cream makeups are a great way to start. You can get like a little cream wheel, something with a couple different colors, depending on what you're trying to make. And it really is what kind of character you're trying to create, or if it's something where you're trying to do, a Frankenstein monster, you want to have those shades of greens and your grays and your blacks in order to get your proper shading and tone. If it's something where you want to make a zombie, you may want to get like an undead wheel. And if you get makeup wheels, I would highly suggest getting a palette and getting a spatula to start with. It's a great practice to begin with, because kids at home, you never, ever, ever go brush to wheel. Never go brush to wheel.
But why
Always
not?
scoop a little bit of that out, put it down on a piece of paper. You can put it on a paper plate. You can put it on an actual palette. Put it anywhere. But don't put your brush inside of there. There's a huge reason for that. Let's say you've got a couple friends over and you want to make a couple zombies. Let's say one of those friends has pink eye, and you start dipping in that wheel, and you put that brush around his eyes, and then you put it back in the wheel and you go to do your next friend. Well, guess what? You're now spreading that to everybody. So as far as makeup safety goes, especially with the wonderful plague we're dealing with, makeup safety is huge, and I would highly suggest any makeup artist learn the safety factors before you start putting makeup on anyone else, just to be safe. It's going to protect you and it's going to protect others.
Absolutely. And I've got our good friend of ours, Karina Martinez, is watching. She loves you. She says thank you so. She'll always be grateful to you for getting her into the makeup industry. And she also says that you're one of the few that's told the reality of being a makeup artist and what you need to do. And I'm going to go ahead and add in there, you're one of the, and I'm not saying you're the only one, but I'm saying you're one of the few people that I've heard preach makeup safety as far as cross-contaminating or going from brush to face, or even wearing gloves so that you're not physically putting your hands in somebody's face. So I mean, that's something that's I think is huge and isn't talked about as much as I think it should be.
Yeah, I've wore gloves, I think just about the entire time I've been working with makeup. One of those reasons, honestly, was starting early on with Mr. Rick. We were using gelatin, and gelatin you will warm up and then pull out and apply. Gelatin is extremely sticky, as is blood. So if you're wearing those gloves, you've got a way to be able to take that second layer of skin off, being your gloves, versus it being on your hands and trying to work. Because there is nothing worse than working sticky. You never want to have sticky stuff on your hands, especially when you're working around talent. You want to be able to reset for each person, and a lot of the different materials that you're working with. But yeah, Karina's awesome. Karina's actually working in Atlanta right now. She came here in Orlando and worked with myself and Mr. Rick, and has just flourished. And we are extremely proud of her and all the work that she's doing up there. She's kicking ass.
She's awesome. She needs to come. I'm just saying, Karina, you need to come visit. I hear rumors of October, so come see us. Oh, okay. So Jess is in the chat also. She says Athena is also grateful for the help and all the tips and everything that you've given her so far. So big thank you. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's interesting about the makeup world that's really changed. It seemed like early on people were very guarded with their secrets and didn't want to share formulas, didn't want to share how they did things. And with social media and it being so open and able to share, there really is more of a sharing sense within the community where we want to show each other how to do stuff. And all it does is it really promotes and pushes you to be a better artist. Because if I can give you what I'm doing best right now and you do it just as well, well, then it makes me challenged to want to go do, something bigger, something, more intense, more detailed. And yeah, and promoting this among the children is huge because we need that next level of makeup artists, and makeup's for everybody. That's one of those things. Don't think that it's just for guys, it's just for girls. Makeup is for everyone. It's that wonderful bonding material and fun that we can all share together.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's for everybody. Doesn't matter what your age is. We have friends that are very young doing makeup that are, 10 teenagers. We have friends that are in their 50s and 60s doing makeup because it's
Oh yeah.
what they love. And I think it's a great thing that it brings everyone, together. And I don't know how to explain it. It's such a great camaraderie watching a group of makeup artists get together, and some of them will do like paint jams or just to hang out, and it's nice because y'all push each other in a healthy way, right?
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. And special effects is so much more than blood, guts, and gore. Now, that's my favorite part of it, just because I love the gory movies. I was raised up on it, so I like trying to recreate the fun, crazy stuff we've seen in the past. Like Hellraiser, A Nightmare on Elm Street, all the other fun stuff. I love when somebody comes to me and goes, "Can you give me Freddy wounds?" Oh, okay. I've got a wealth of knowledge up here of all the Freddy movies I've seen. So let's go Nightmare on Elm Street on your face. It's a lot of fun. But makeup or being a special effects artist entails so much more.
Yeah.
You have to have a knowledge of the human anatomy. You have to understand how the face and the body moves. Because before you go putting on something on somebody, you want to make sure that they've got full movement in order to wear that piece, especially with the material we use, watermelon. Watermelon's very different than, say, a foam latex, whereas I can put a foam latex piece on somebody's face and they've got full movement.
Okay.
Whereas if I go putting one of those watermelon, which is a polyvinyl plastic, on somewhere where somebody's mouth moves, after time, it's going to pull up and pull away. So it's just being knowledgeable of, those pieces, but it's, being able to sculpt. It's being able to run those molds. It's being able to punch hair, which is something that hopefully I'll be doing soon. We've got an idea for a werewolf movie we're playing around with, and if we get into it, then we are definitely going to be punching some hair. So that's to be continued, but fun stuff in the works.
Absolutely. Your mind never stops. You're always creating something, whether it's something physical like a wound or any type of makeup, or you're writing something out, whether it's a story or a poem or a really weird song. You're very talented man. And I don't say that just because you're my husband. I truly mean that. I felt that way before I met you, just seeing your work online and things like that. So I think you're such a creatively individual. If I had in my little pinky what you have in your body, I would be doing more. That's for
Come
sure.
on, Dad girl. Look at your show. Look at how many people you've got following you. You've got a great thing started here, and creativity has many different faces. So don't
That's
think you're
fair.
not talented,
All
because
right,
you are.
that's
So don't
that's
give me that.
fair, and thank you
Don't
to.
give me that mess.
All right. Thank you, thank you. Now I've got to ask you this, and I know you mentioned this before that you had a mentor or have one because we still speak with him, and that was Rick
Yeah.
Gonzalez. I've met him. I've done some work, not as much as you, but I've done a little work with him. And Mr. Rick is such a wonderful human being. He's so sweet and tons of knowledge. Do
Oh, yeah.
you? I know in nowadays there's like makeup schools and stuff that kids and adults can go to where they can learn special effects makeup, they can learn beauty makeup, they can learn mold making, all of these wonderful things that you were able to learn through your mentor. Would you recommend that someone go to makeup school and then also maybe find a mentor to work with, or do you maybe prefer one over the other personally?
Um, well, I would definitely suggest going to school if you can afford it. The schools are a little pricey, and also you've got to look at the schedules for the schools. Going to makeup school is like going to college. So
Okay,
you literally have to be available Monday through Friday to take those courses, to take those classes, and you have to have the money to do it.
gotcha.
Um, Being a makeup artist honestly takes time, takes a lot of time. It's one of those things where when you first get in and if you could find a mentor, find a shop, you're going to be sweeping floors. You're going to be cleaning molds. You're going to be doing those basic things that are going to build you as an artist. And it's crazy because you're sitting there and you're cleaning molds and you're like, this sucks. I don't ever want to have to do this. And then you have a mold lock up on you where you have to clean it. And that knowledge comes in really, really well because you can actually clean out that mold where you may not have had that knowledge. So everything you do under a makeup artist or with a makeup team is a piece that you're learning from, and it'll help you and build you up as an artist. But I mean, if you have the money, go to school. I know there's a few across the US. I know in California, the Mud School's amazing out there.
Hmm.
Cinema Makeup School, or Cinema Makeup has a school out there. Here in Orlando, I know we have the Vamp School, which is
Yes.
awesome because there was a gap in Orlando where we didn't have any schools. So it was nice for them to step up. I know you can also do classes with AEO. I believe Embellish Effects, once they get their new location started, there's going to be classes available there.
Hmm.
Um, and then let's see here. We got Savini School up in I think it's PA, if I'm
Pennsylvania.
not mistaken. Yep. So, I mean, there are schools around. And then there's also things like the online schools. I know Stan Winston has a wonderful bevy of knowledge. I mean, it's literally anything you could possibly want. If you sign up for the subscription that he has, it gives you access to all kinds of videos. So, I mean, and again, it's all practice, guys. Don't be afraid of it, and get to know your materials, get to know what you're playing with, and never, ever, ever wait until the day of to try to open something and play with it, because you don't want to be in a situation where you've got a time crunch and you don't know how this is going to work. Also, test your materials. Always make sure to test those materials on the inside of your actor's wrist before you put it anywhere near their face, because it's a lot easier to control a reaction on the inside of their wrist
Okay.
than it is all over their face.
And now that I'm assuming that's for allergy purposes, or if somebody, has a negative reaction, whether it's breaking out in a rash or maybe it's burning them and it shouldn't be. So I'm assuming that's all done for, safety for the
Safety
sorry, the
first.
actor.
Yes. Yeah, you want to make sure your talent's always as comfortable as possible. And I use the word talent, it can be anybody. If I'm working at Spooky Empire and I'm at the makeup booth and I've got somebody sitting in my chair, they're talent. If I'm working on a short film, they're talent. If I'm working on a feature film, they're talent. Everybody that you work with, you treat the same exact way. It's just a level of respect you give the people that's in your chair that carries around or carries over. And I mean, it's huge. It really is, because you want them to feel as comfortable as possible while you're working with them.
Yeah.
And there's that unspoken bond that you're going to take care of them, you're not going to hurt them, and you're not going to leave them sticky. It's important.
And I think that goes a long way. Your I'm going to go ahead and say set etiquette with your attitude as well when you have someone in the chair. If, and this is just from my experience with you, if you've got someone that doesn't really talk, then sometimes silence is best. If you've got someone that's chatty, that's a little different. But it also goes back to like, people are people when they're on set in the chair. Just treat them like a human and be nice. That goes a long way, because word of mouth spreads quickly in the makeup world as to who you'd want to work with and who you don't.
Definitely. And do some research on who you're working with. It's really nice to have a little bit of background and a little bit of understanding who's in your chair. Back when I had Sid Haig in my chair, I did a little bit of research, and Sid had previously worked with Lon Chaney Jr. and, called him Mr. Chaney. And he said, Sid, if we're going to be working together, you can call me Lon. He says, all right. So I told Sid when he sat in my chair, he said, Sid, I'm going to call you Sid, just the way, you called him Lon back in the days. I'm going to call you Sid. Is that all right? He smiled real big. He says, you read that? I said, yes, sir. I said, a little bit of research. I said, yeah, you can call me Sid. I appreciate that.
And I just popped up a picture real quick. Sorry to interrupt you. Of you doing
no, you're fine.
Sid's makeup at Spooky Empire for a photo op that they had.
Yeah, we had two. I actually got to do them two different times. The first one was just him solo, and then the second one was the cast of House of a Thousand Corpses. So I actually got to apply makeup twice on the legend Sid Haig, which was just mind-blowing. Right place, right time. Spooky's given me some amazing opportunities to work with people that I may not have had a chance to work with. So
now, speaking of working with people you may not have a chance to work with, Sid isn't the only big name that you've done makeup on. You've also done makeup on a couple of other folks. Bill Moseley was one of them. And didn't you do, when they did the group photo at Spooky, didn't you do Bill and Sid's?
Yeah, this was actually my second time working with Bill. I actually worked with him back when we had the Christmas show, which was a makeup show for a previous event that wasn't able to happen, and had Bill in my chair that time. And yeah, I think I put you in that makeup at least 2 or 3 times the weeks before to make sure I had it dialed in so that I was comfortable doing it. And then the picture we're showing here was I had Sid and Bill on the same day. And that I didn't even use any reference pictures because it was burned in my head from the first time we did it. We did it so many times. So I rocked right through it. And yeah, I thought it looked pretty good. We got done, and Bill looked at his makeup, said, I look pretty androgynous. I said, okay, yeah, that's good, right? He's like, yeah, I like it. I was like, perfect. I think he's more talking about the wig than the makeup, but it all looked really good. And he gets into character so quickly. And both those guys were so easy in my chair. It is so nice when you have somebody that's comfortable and that realizes that they shouldn't be on their cell phone the entire time they're in your chair, and they're just ready to get comfortable and locked into that character. It was cool. And yeah, those were 2 huge names. And then we also had our friend James Honk.
We did. I love that man. He has such a special place in my heart after speaking with him and helping you with his makeup. Let's show the folks as you chat about him a little bit.
So this was a wild trip. This was me being invited up to his room with him and his wife to kind of talk a little bit. And not only did we do his makeup, but we also needed to help him with his hair because he had a real human wig that needed to have the haircut. And he also wanted to have his hair trimmed. And thankfully, our friend Chelsea, who is a licensed cosmetologist and hairstylist, was able to come in and actually rock it out with us because, yeah, those wigs go for thousands of dollars. And then we wanted to use very comfortable, easy makeup with him. So, of course, no airbrush makeup on 90-year-old skin at the time, cream makeup. And we transformed him into the immortal Lopan. And he had very specific ideas of what he wanted the makeup to look like. And he even had a mirror in his hand and was giving us play-by-play information of what he liked and what he didn't like and what he wanted it to look like, so that by the time we were done, the immortal Lopan arose. And it was kind of cool because, like, right before he was supposed to go in for his photo op, he had to use the restroom. So he walks out, and here's this line of people waiting to get their photos with him. And he's like 99% done. And you can hear everybody cheering as he's walking to the bathroom. Like, who cheers for the bathroom? It's awesome. Then he walks back and instead of us doing our last looks, went right into that photo op room. And thankfully you guys were there because I had made custom nails for him. Fun fact, you'll never know how wide or how narrow somebody's nail beds are until you actually have them in person. And I had to make those real long pinky nails.
Mhm.
So we measured them out Thursday night. I actually glued two acrylic nails together, sanded them down, and created those big, long, cool nails for his pinkies. And y'all threw them on while I was knocking out the rest of it to make sure he was photo ready. And then he wore that makeup after we trimmed his nails so he could sign autographs for another, I think, 5 hours.
Yeah,
And
he wore it for, and I still have those nails. Fun fact. I still have those pinky nails floating around in my bag that I had that day. So I still have James Hong's nails in my bag. I've got
yeah, he was an absolute delight to work with. And I mean, he was amazing. We had the chance to actually do the application with him, and then on Sunday he wanted to do kind of
That's
a
right.
what do
Quick
you call it?
change.
Well, he wanted to do the quick change, but he did like this sideshow, not even a sideshow. He did this like variety hour. That's a perfect thing, variety hour.
Yes.
So he did voices from all of his different characters. He sang a little bit of Elvis, and then he has this song called Lopan Style. If you've never seen it before, it's a riff off of Gangnam Style called Lopan Style, and he's actually in the video. So he wanted to do the quick change, and under a minute, we got him into that full robe, wig, hat, and the robe had these wonderful little knots on it that had the little, I think they're called like monkey paw knots or something like that,
Yes.
that we had to get on quickly. And with under a minute, got him back on stage, and there he is dancing with three green-eyed girls. It was amazing.
So Google Lopan style after we're done.
On
Not
YouTube,
now.
yeah.
Google it later on YouTube and watch the video. I love it. I think it's ridiculously amazing. I truly do. But to your point, I made a face when you mentioned the knops on the robe, and my face wasn't meant to be geared towards you. It was just because those knots sucked. Tying that robe closed was not fun, and trying to do it quickly was a little more difficult.
Well, we rocked it out. When we were first doing it for the photo op the day before, we kind of learned how those knots worked.
Yes,
It
we
took a
did.
minute. But yeah, being able to put all that out together, get them up on stage, and let them dance in full costume was pretty awesome. And yeah, those are very cherished memories. I mean, there's quite a few makeups that I've done throughout the year at Spooky that I absolutely love. But I also love working, of course, with people that have such rich histories. I mean, if you haven't looked at James Hong's IMDb, check it out. He literally has been working in makeup or in a film since was it 40s, the 50s, something like that?
Yeah, like the original, like OG Gojira, yeah. Look, he's amazing, and you've referenced Spooky Empire a few times, and you've done some celebrity makeups for them, and that's one of my favorite spooky shirts, by the way. But what
Mine too.
else? What else do you do with Spooky Empire?
Well, um, my love affair with Spooky Empire started back about 2006 when I started attending as an attendee. And I attended zombie walks in my own makeup. I also attended a zombie walk with my little brother, well, little at the time, and we did the Zombie Blues Brothers, which was very interesting. That was cream makeup in Florida in the heat. Yeah, we got that touched up twice more, and that was actually the night I met Dr. Skull. Um, yeah, craziness. Another amazing artist that you'll have to have on here sometime.
Yes.
And yeah, definitely. And I just was, an attendee, enjoying the show, seeing everything they did, and going to the zombie walks. I'd see them, the makeup artist set up and what they were doing, and I was like, could do that. So I hit up this crazy insano man named Jesse Fish, local legend, and said, "Hey Jesse, if you got an extra chair, let me jump in, and I'd love to do makeup." And started doing makeup there. Within a year or two, I kind of I don't want to say took over, but we had a bunch of artists that we were able to bring in, and we offered, say we can bring in more artists for the zombie walk. Would you be interested? They said, yeah. So we started bringing in, different styles of artists because we wanted to go beyond just the basic face paint. We wanted to go with those 3D artists. We wanted to go and make it look like actual zombies versus just, the quick line paints. And then started talking with Spooky going, hey, we have all these amazing artists. What about bringing them in and letting them actually set up and doing makeup for the attendees? because it was something that was kind of missing. Every now and then you'd find a booth like Evil Fire Lizard where you might find a Nick Wolf, doing makeup, but there wasn't ever a guarantee that everybody was going to be there at the times, you wanted makeup.
Right.
So I was like, hey, let's bring the best of Orlando and the best of the surrounding areas and let's put them in a chair to do makeup. And we've been doing that since about 2012, I believe. And then here recently, up until the last, I'd say the last 5 years. I think we started about 5 years ago.
2016 that got pushed to 2017 due to Florida hurricanes.
Yeah, we don't use that word. We don't use that word. No. We started doing makeup classes, demos, and panels. There had been a few before. I know like Bloody Mary had done a class here and there, few other folks, but there wasn't anything that was, again, scheduled every show. We wanted to bring in the ability for people to get hands-on. So the demos and the panels you're going to listen to, it's included with your attendee or with your admission. But all of our classes were hands-on, because one of the big things I'd seen back when I was younger was people would do demos and they would charge for demos, and it was like, wait a minute, why are you charging for a demo? I want to be able to, and this wasn't at Spooky, this was other locations. I'd seen demos charged, and I was like, if we ever do this at Spooky, we're not charging for demos and panels, because you're just listening, you're watching, you're learning, but you're not getting your hands dirty.
Right.
Now, the minute you start making blood, the minute you start learning how to paint a skull face, the minute you start, creating a tombstone or a hatchet or all the other crazy fun stuff that we've had in these classes, then you pay per class, but you're actually taking something home with you, right, or you're physically doing something, which, I love. I would have loved that back in 2006 when I started. So I always try to bring in things that I would have loved, that I think other people would love, and just keep it going forward. That, and we encourage the young artists to come in. We get to showcase up and coming artists, as well as, the local pros like Tony Mandel and Danielle Battaglia and the other superstars that we have in our local industry.
Now, are the classes and demos and panels coming back this October for Spooky? Because I know Spooky's starting to announce some guests and some chatters going on. So are we, and I already know the answer to this, but for the folks who are watching that may not know the answer, are classes and demos and panels coming back this October?
Yes. I think it's going to be a little more heavy on the demos and panels this time.
Okay.
Only because we're over at the convention center and we want to make sure we don't blow any fuses or any other fun stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely, we will be showcasing these artists again. And it's our pleasure to do it. Really, it is, because it gives everybody a chance just to see what goes into it. And it's crazy because people will see these makeups and they don't realize how many thousands of dollars go into these looks.
Right.
I mean, you get like a female darkness that Tony did. That's a thousands upon thousands dollars creation. Mm-hmm. And that's from concept to buying the materials for it to actually creating the molds, and everything's customized for that person. It's not a one size fits most. You're literally creating custom pieces for a custom look. Yeah. And it pulls back that veil to actually show what all goes into doing this. I know when Danielle did her sex machine last October, that was mind blowing.
I love that makeup. Crazy.
Oh, it was so good. She even had the moving cod piece. It was so good.
It would pop up too.
Oh, you did. It did. And it was wild because when you would walk in, you would see her through the different stages. And that's one of the things that, we tell people with the panels. You don't have to stay in the entire time. If you want to come in and kind of pop in and check it out, jump out, do your photo op, come back. Usually those demos are going for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, because it takes a while to put all that stuff on.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something I encourage. If you like makeup, if you like special effects, if you want to learn more, definitely jump in, check those out. And then, as we said before, check your local area and see what's available, because there's a lot out there. And there's a lot of stuff online too.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're safe.
Yes, be safe and research your materials a little bit and test them on even if you're practicing on yourself, do a little tester on yourself and make sure. You may not think you have an issue, but you just might have problems with something. So you don't want to hurt yourself or, anyone that you're working on either, because that's no bueno, people. That's no bueno at all.
And I mean, makeup and materials will react differently in different temperatures too.
Yes.
As we know, we worked at a haunt in the middle of the woods, and the middle of the woods in Florida can be very warm.
Just a little.
Some Just a little bit, but I mean, if you're going to be working with blood per se, you don't want to use Caro blood, because if you're in the woods, you
Ew.
don't want anything with a sugar content being put on your actors outdoors. It doesn't work. Because yeah, I was lucky enough to actually work at two local haunts here. One out in Lakeland, that was the Shallow Grave. I actually started the makeup department there and ran that for 2 years with two dear friends, Jennifer Overland and Mick Velasquez, Dr. Skull. And then I had the chance to come out and start the Trail of Terror makeup room with AEO Studios. Then we had Christina Moore out there, and Sarah
Sarah
Perry Black. Yep.
and
And you came
Kira.
out.
I did.
Yep, Kira came out. She was rocking and rolling, and then you came out and you did both. You actually got a chance to act as well as get behind the brush, and it was amazing to see, the first piece you put on versus the last piece you put on, and you saw the progression in your work. You saw the progression and learning, and understanding of what you're working with. But yeah,
Practice.
working in local haunts, I think every makeup artist, if you get the chance, work a local haunt. Do it, because I got to tell you, it is an eye opener. There is one thing, it's one thing to be on set and to have some time to actually put makeup on your actors and your actresses, and to have that time for, the touch-ups. And you're right there on set with them. You're standing there waiting. So if something happens, you can fix it. When you're working in a haunt, you have a very specific amount of time to rock through every one of those looks. You got to get them out there. And then if you want to be on set to help them for touch-ups, you've got a makeup bag strapped to you, and you're playing hide and go seek with the patrons so that you can hide somewhere in that house so that they don't see you, so that you can then pop out, check on everybody, make sure their makeup looked good, everything was all right, pop back into the shadows. It's wild, especially when you're in the woods. That was an experience. That was one of my favorites. Trail of Terror will always have a good place in my heart. And we did some pretty gnarly makeup there too.
Yeah, let's
That's another.
showcase some of that real quick. I'm gonna interrupt you for a
Yeah.
minute so we can showcase some
you're
of this.
fine.
But I'm gonna agree with you. Playing a makeup ninja at the Trail of Terror, to go in to do touch-ups or to glue something down that maybe was coming up because the actor was sweating because it was so hot, was so much fun, because it was literally hide and seek. You were hiding from the guests and then popping out and doing touch-ups between groups. So it kept you on your toes. It kept you kind of fit because you had to be quick moving. But let's take a look at some of the cool stuff that Mr. JD created out there at the Trail of Terror. Now, what is happening? This is just gnarly.
All right. So one of the benefits of working at an independent haunt versus your big places like the local theme parks is you have a little bit more flexibility to kind of get in and do some fun stuff. If you're working at one of the local theme parks, a lot of times they'll have a specific makeup look they want you to do. It's already fleshed out before you even get there. They'll have pictures of it, and you kind of work off of the model and the design of what they're doing. What you're seeing here is me being a little crazy and creative. So we had a young lady who was tied up or chained up to a post that would scream and yell for you to try to help her. She's only about 16, 17, something like that. And she had a very small wound on the top of her head that progressively got larger to what you're seeing on the left. Now, what's funny is when you look at that, trying to figure out what's going on, it looks like her scalp's been opened.
Yeah.
But that's actually the bottom of a silicone bucket. Or a silicone in the bottom of a bucket. So this was leftover silicone that had been left in a bucket, and some of the silicone was coming up the side, and I was like, this might be kind of fun. So I took it out of the bucket, cleaned it off, took some hairpins, and actually pinned that into her hairline. And then through the magic of makeup and some really fun water-based blood, we were able to gloss it up, make it look real nasty, and open her head up. And then we progressed over the next couple of weeks, and she started having maggots in it, some other fun stuff. The young lady on the right is just a quick freehand latex and cotton buildup. A lot of times working at haunts, you'll work with appliances, but sometimes you have a new person come in that you don't have an appliance for, so you just want to do something quick and easy. This young lady was underneath a strobe light. So she had a really cool reveal because the other side of her face didn't have anything on it. And as you came into the room, she would slowly turn her head, and you would see that half of her face was pretty much tore off and just ripped open under that strobe light. And I believe you actually wore that piece
I
as well
did.
at one point in that chair for a while the
I
strobes
I will say this.
rocked you.
It was fun making grown men pee a little. It was tons of fun, and if you ever get the chance to act in a haunt, I 100% say that you need to do it.
Yeah.
The face piece was awesome because it was the same. I'd have my head to the side, and as I got closer and closer, I would turn and give that big reveal, and people would lose their minds. But the toughest thing about that was the strobe light, and
Yeah.
this was on me. I had not eaten beforehand and I was not properly hydrated. So, on top of that, with the flashing strobe, I ended up with a killer migraine and I had to kind of move out of that set for that reason. So, if you're going to work a haunt, hydrate and eat before you go into makeup and before you go out because that's going to help you tremendously. But man, that was fun.
Yeah, it's good times. And it's good training, man, because it's every weekend you're rocking and rolling and you're getting better and better
Yep.
as you go. And you learn different things. Like the first time we did the shallow grave, we used foam latex appliances.
Oh,
And those take a long time to put on and take off. You had, 30 to 45 minutes worth of removals at the end of the night, and you're fighting to make sure nobody's going home sticky.
yeah.
The second year, we actually did silicone pieces and used Skin Tight, which is also a two-part silicone, to put the pieces on. We were using I think a plat cell tin for the pieces that were deadened,
Okay.
and then we were using the silicone as the adhesive to put it on their faces. So at the end of the night, literally, you just grab an edge and you were able to pull it off and then just clean the pieces. And of course, every single person had their own bag, had their own pieces. Because again, folks, safety first. You don't want to go putting a piece on somebody else's face that somebody else wore because that's just nasty.
Yeah, that's ugh.
You don't do that.
That's yeah, you definitely that's a big no.
Yeah. Now, other than working in haunts, though, I have had the chance to work with Mr. Rick Gonzalez on quite a few local productions. We actually worked on an episode of Fact or Faked out in Jupiter Island, where we got to create the Muck Monster. So I was out there with Ozda Shaw, Dano Needhammer, and Rick, and we were actually out there over, I think, a day or two, creating this wonderful effect. And it was fun because you kind of get the veil of reality TV pulled back to see how things really work.
Yeah.
Because you had, Ben Hansen and his team sitting there making these pieces. And it was literally them taking some of the supplies that we brought with us and looking like they were putting down latex to create this little Nessie, fin to do a recreation in the water. And of course, all the stuff had been built previously. So we brought the stuff in and actually worked on it. Rick also brought me in for a few local smaller films that were a lot of fun to work on. There was a demon movie that we had worked on that unfortunately never had a chance to see the light of day, as some shorts do. They're getting shopped around. Some of them get picked up, some of them don't.
Yeah.
But we got to create these wonderful demon masks. There's a gentleman by the name of John Kyle that was the head demon. He's like, I don't know, 6'7", 6'8",
Oh wow.
mountain of a man, but one of the sweetest men you'll ever have in your chair. It was absolutely awesome. And we actually still have those masks. We still use them occasionally for Halloween and other fun things, since Mr. Rick was nice enough to give them to us. We also worked on Invaders, which was amazing. That was 2:00 in the morning, downtown Orlando, doing this shoot. It was wild, and it was cool because when we got done, Eli Roth, I want to say it was the one who said it was punk rock horror or something like that. It's a 7-minute short of just in your face, just amazingness.
And I'm gonna pause you for a minute because didn't you guys use I've seen the short and it's amazing, and if you get a chance, watch it, and it's in part of the clips that I'm gonna show you here in a few minutes. But how much blood did you guys use? Because there's a lot.
So Ty Arnold and Jason Kemper came to me and said that they wanted to do a 2-minute practical blood scene.
Okay.
So when you say a 2-minute practical blood scene, that means that they wanted 2 minutes, 120 seconds of blood coming out of this guy's face.
Oh.
So in order to do that, you have to have a lot of blood. So that night I believe it was me and Chris Sikowski. And we had worked previously the day before. It was Karina Martinez, myself, Chris Sikowski, Rick Gonzalez, Kay Gonzalez were all on set that night. And it was wild too, because the scene was supposed to happen the first night we shot. and we weren't in control of the blood. Somebody else had brought the blood in. Well, the blood they brought in, they had made with red and black food dye. And if you put red and black food dye together, the effect is a brownish color that doesn't look like blood coming out of their face.
It looks like poop.
So it does look like poop. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. So yeah, we were about to have many gallons of poop coming out of this guy's face, and we went, no, we're not going to do that. And they'd actually had to shut down the set previously because of this scene not working properly. So Rick and I got together and gathered every bit of blood that we had on set, put it into a 5-gallon bucket, thinned it down enough so that we could get this first shot of the spray. And then at the end of the movie, when you actually see the continual spray, that's the blood that I brought on set the day. There was a couple of weeks later, but we shot it. I believe it was in the back of one of their parents' yards, which it was Caro blood. So sorry. When you go that large, you kind of have to.
Ants. Ants. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Thankfully, it was heavily thinned down, though.
Okay.
I had about 10 gallons of concentrate with me. We had 2 very large trash cans and a submersible pump. And yeah, we rocked that scene out. And it was shot against a white screen, to which I think his name was Tom Hardy, I believe, took the blood and put it against that, or took it from the screen and put it into the actual shot, so that you get that continual amount of blood coming out. And it's gnarly. Like the entire credits is this blood coming out of this guy's face. It's pretty wild. But yeah, that was an actual awesome thing to work with. Jeremiah Bumgard had me on, and we worked for a few different things for his short called Horror. It was Horrorscapes. He had an idea to basically make a video that you could play in the background during Halloween that just had different gory, nasty, fun scenes. Some of them were gory, some of them were scary, some of them were spooky. But they were a lot of fun. They were just different weird scenes you'd see in the background. So you may see a person being electrocuted, and then you may see, a woman on a bus with ghost children, and then you may see zombies. It was just a little mix of everything, and working with him was a lot of fun. I actually worked on a couple of films with him, and some of those actually got some awards for best effects and other fun stuff, which was awesome. Nice. And then, yeah, and heck, even the Invaders one that we worked on got best audience choice at Spooky Empire.
Yes.
So that was pretty cool. And then recently I've been working with John Connon and Chris Ballinger. So we worked on Little Z. I had a chance to work on a fun little zombie movie with some amazing actors and an amazing cast. Everybody from cast and crew was absolutely fantastic. And then John invited us out to work on The Puttering. And that was actually the last film, the last set that we've been on since The Plague. So things have definitely gotten a little different since then. Everybody's trying to figure out what's the safest way to have actors on set. People are getting tested daily. If you're on set, you have to get tested every single morning or every other morning to even be on set. Like, there are so many things that you go through. I mean, even when we're working at Spooky, I make sure that I have a new set of gloves every single person I work on. I sanitize my station before anybody gets back in my chair in between people. I'm working with new brushes on each person. It's just, you've got to take these steps nowadays to keep everybody safe. And I mean, it goes beyond the plague. It's even just a cold. You don't want to, have a cold shared between people. You don't want pink eye shared between people. So it's just, you got to be safe out there. But sorry, I harp on safety, but it's just so huge in this industry because, you don't want to, mess somebody up or glue their eyes shut or other fun things we've seen happen. Not with us, thankfully.
No.
But yeah, working in the Orlando, the movie industry here it's fun and it's interesting. It's a lot of student films because, I mean, all of the major industry right now is up in Atlanta and over in New Orleans. And we have a lot of amazing, talented friends that left here that went to work in those industries. I'm here with a mortgage, so it was one of those things where I couldn't just jump and run, but it's, I'll never stop doing makeup. It's something that I love to do, and it's something that brings me joy and brings me happiness. Sculpting is one of those therapeutic moments of my life where I can just sit down and there's no telling what it's going to be when I'm done. And I mean, when we got into this weird lull where we couldn't work on people, I started sculpting weird stuff like Viking ghosts and reapers and other strange things that were coming out of my brain. But it keeps you creative, it keeps you going, and anything that makes you happy, man, do it,
Absolutely. Those are some very true words. You have to keep yourself happy, and I think motivation is a big thing, finding the time. You have to carve out that time because no one is going to do that for you. You have to make your own time to do the thing and to be creative. And and I see a difference in you when you're doing makeup and you're in your happy place versus when the pandemic happened and things kind of paused and nobody could really do anything. And it's to see you transform and how happy doing special effects and makeup makes you, it makes my heart swell because I love seeing you that happy.
It's my happy place. And don't ever let anybody put, it on you, try to gatekeep. Well, you're not a professional. Well, who's to say what a professional is? I mean, seriously, if you're doing everything safe and you're using the right materials and you're not hurting anybody and, you're creating these looks and creating these effects, well, honestly, you don't need a moniker of professional over your head. A makeup artist is a makeup artist. And it can start from somebody as young as Athena, going up to the makeup masters who thankfully are still pushing brushes and coming up with new looks and new ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we have a little some clips to share with the boys and girls at home, and some of these clips you can find the full videos on YouTube, or you can buy the full movie on Amazon or other places. But do you mind if we share with the folks some of the fun things that you've done?
No, go ahead. And this is a mixture of short films. It's a mixture of that horror-scapes. You're going to see a couple of the films we've worked on, and I believe there's a small piece at the end that we'll see with our friends Sid and Steve that was actually guerrilla shot in a Walgreens of all places. So it's fun. And Steve, rest in peace, is unfortunately no longer with us, but you will hear his voice in the background. So it's kind of cool to have that moment with him. But yeah.
And just
roll that footage.
Before I roll that footage, one thing real quick. There is, FYI, a couple things. It's bloody. It's a little gory. FYI, if you're screaming, it's fake, all fake. Heads up. There is one scene in it. There is an electrocution scene in there. The clip that we have, unfortunately, is silent. There was no sound when we got it. That's just kind of how it is. So let's go ahead and roll that, and then it looks like we got some questions in the chat, so we'll answer that here in just a moment. But enjoy.
She's a sweet girl. She wouldn't hurt anyone, you know that.
You're right, she is a gentle and caring girl, I can see that.
Then what? What is it?
How long can we keep up this ruse?
Hi. Yeah, my dog got me, and it just, I don't think you have what I need, but I do need a pack of cigarettes. L&M Blue short pack.
You know when you inhale, it's going to come out of your neck,
Yeah,
right?
it's gonna come out.
All right. There's a lot happening in that clip for sure.
There's a lot of really, really good memories with a lot of really good people. You know, it's fun to see all those because it reminds you how many people are involved with everything you see. You know, it's behind every one person, there's another 10, you know, making these things happen, making these things a reality. And you make a lot of really great friendships along the way. I'm really thankful for all the time and all the people that I've met over the years. And hopefully we'll have many, many more years of creating and doing fun things and working on Roadside Red and a few other personal projects that hopefully we can bring to light at some point here in the near future to everyone.
You've got that got quite the reaction. I got a couple of holy shits, some wows. Joy, that glass in the foot looked so real, dude. The glass in the foot was great. That was done in like 50 degree weather too, like outside.
So, fun fact, that foot scene is actually wax. It is actually old school scar wax. And we applied that on a back porch in 50-degree weather. So if anybody's ever worked with scar wax before, you know you have to heat it up and warm it up to get it pliable enough to actually work with. And yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, but we got it. And thankful for the glass. That glass actually came from Tony over at Anatomy Effects and Alan over at AEO Studios. They gave us a combination of the two. So the glass that was on the ground was from one of them, and then the piece that he pulls out of his foot was from another. And yeah, we're just one big family when it comes to the makeup industry here in Orlando. Everybody knows everybody knows everybody.
Absolutely. And I've got a couple of questions in the chat before we get to our final questions. I know we're running a little over our run time normally. So first of all, thanks for hanging out, everybody. And thank you, JD, for taking the time and this evening to have this wonderful chat with us. So Brian is asking, when you're working on a project, for example, like Little Z or any type of film where there's zombies involved, how do you determine what that makeup is going to look like? Do you get with the director? Do you guys like sketch it out? How does that work?
So you take a dartboard and you put a bunch of faces up there and you just throw it. No, I'm kidding. That's the importance of pre-production, because you've really got to know, you know, how did this person turn into a zombie? What kind of zombie are they? Where are they from? Like the little girl that you just saw in Little Z, her body regenerated. So she didn't actually show signs of being a zombie and was actually able to be touched up to where she would pass as a human, which is something kind of new in the zombie world, because normally, you know, zombies you can tell are zombies.
Yes.
So yeah, it's sitting down, kind of sketching out ideas, looking at different reference photos, and kind of getting a feel for, you know, what does their zombie look like. And yeah, that's all done in pre-production. It's usually done even before you bid on the, you know, get into it, just so you know what you're working with, because you have to know what level of decay are we playing with, because again, that's money. You know, it's having a very simple, basic zombie that just has drawn in, you know, facial features and maybe just a little bit of discoloration is vastly different than an out-of-the-ground zombie who has full facial appliances and has rot and again, a continuity, making sure that they look like that all the way throughout the film. So how many times are you going to have to do that makeup? You know, how many days are you shooting? Because every day is a new shoot, but you've got to make it look like the same exact person or the same exact zombie every single time.
Okay, that's a fair and well-given answer, I would say personally. A couple of other questions coming in. So let's see here. Joy is asking, if you could work on anything, like what would your dream gig be?
Oh, dream gig?
That's tough.
Anything that Robert Kurtzman or Rick Baker's working on. Like literally, I would clean molds, I would sweep floors, I would do
sweep floors
necessary just to work with those masters, just to see their creative process and what they do. Of course, you know, I'd much rather be sculpting with them and creating things and, you know, building stuff, but it's, yeah, to work with some of the masters would be amazing. And to honestly, to go beyond that, to work on a local film here again with the people that we work with around us. to put that work back into the local Florida, artists, because we've been fighting for a really, really long time to get film credits back here in Florida.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our government, for whatever reason, has decided that we don't need tax credits, which is killing us. Thankfully, there is a little bit of film industry down in South Florida and Miami, but Orlando's barren. I mean, we have a
Yeah.
few student films here and there and a few small projects, but they're mostly micro budgets. So, I mean, I would love to see. I'm going to have two dreams. One, to either work with the masters, or two, to see an influx of business and an influx of films come back to Orlando, and to see all of my friends working and to see everybody busy, because we're happiest when we're busy. We really are.
Those are some great dreams. I like those dreams.
A boy can dream.
Absolutely. Now, if you could have done, okay, so here's another one, and I apologize, I didn't catch the name of who asked it because it's kind of flying by. If you could have done makeup work on any movie in history,
Oh,
any movie in history, what top 3 movies would you do makeup on if you had a choice of movie or series?
okay. I would have worked on the original Day of the Dead, because working with Rick Gonzalez and Barry Anderson and the crew that was working on it. Do I?
I said Barry.
Oh, Barry Anderson's amazing, and Tom Savini. I mean, back in his heyday,
Yep.
to work back with that crew, yes, it was hot, yes, it was crazy, but to be in the trenches with those boys would have been amazing. Of course, American Werewolf in London, hands down. I would have loved to have seen the creative process of Rick Baker figuring out those bladders that he did for the transformation scenes, and how to film the hair and how to film just all that he did. And to see that happy moment when he puts that piece on the face and he has that little dangle, just dangling, just that little, because from an artist's perspective, you see that and it's just, oh. And third film,
Those top 2 came pretty easy. You don't have to do a third if you don't want to. I mean, if those 2 are your tops, that's your top, man.
Something like what was it? The Amazing Benjamin Buttons.
Oh, where he regresses, where he ages backwards.
Yes, with that with a reverse aging makeup. That's got to be nuts, to go backwards like that. But that would have been amazing to be on set and to learn from and to work with, because aging makeup, either you do it really well or it goes really wrong. Like there is no in between world with aging makeup. It is definitely an art to gracefully age somebody or reverse age somebody, as it was in that film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those would be my top 3 as far as makeups go.
What about American Horror Story? Joy wants to know. Would you have liked to have worked on any of those?
Oh yeah, American Horror Story would have been amazing. Asylum would have been fun. I would have been right at home.
Asylum was I mean, they're all great seasons, really, but Asylum is definitely a rad one.
Oh yeah.
Now
we have a lot of the tools that we saw in that film series, though.
We do. My JD collects medical equipment. If for those of you that don't know, so we have a very interesting, eclectic collection, from body bags to dental to OBG to general practitioner to it's your collection, all the things, really.
A little bit of everything,
including a human skull.
Yeah, Bruce.
We have Bruce. All right, now I've got thank you guys in the chat for chiming in with your questions. I have a couple more of my own before I'm going to cut you loose this evening. And this is also one that was asked in the chat by Steve. So, Steve, we're going to do a combo on here one. So we're first going to ask, what is your favorite Halloween candy? I know the answer to this,
I was about to say,
but other people might want to know. So people watching, JD, what is your favorite Halloween candy?
Black licorice. No. I can tell you what it's not. It's not candy corn. My favorite. I'm sleeping on the couch tonight. My favorite candy is Reese's peanut butter cups. I absolutely love them. Always have. Whatever reason, that chocolate and peanut butter mix is just absolutely amazing. Close second, believe it or not, Almond Joy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Almond Joy's got nuts.
Mounds don't.
They're so good. Yeah, see, Chris loves them too. See, a lot of people love some Reese's. It is a great combination, that peanut butter and chocolate. And I do like a Reese's
Oh,
too. It's good, but candy corn is still my favorite. Anyway,
yeah, I gotta tell you, I used to really like the Reese's cups, but when they come out with the specialty shapes, like the pumpkins or the trees,
yes,
those have so much more peanut butter in them. They're amazing.
they
Like those are my
really
favorite.
do. They really
Yeah.
Mounds is better. Mounds is good too. I like them both, to be honest. I'm not gonna argue candy because I love candy in general, except
Yeah,
black licorice. But
dark chocolate and coconut versus milk chocolate, coconut, and almond. Well, both are good.
it's all a win. All right.
Yeah.
What about your? Now I'll give you a top 3 on this one as well, because this one is a difficult question because there can be answers for every genre. And this is also Steve's question. So, what is your favorite horror movie?
A top 3? That's a really good idea, Erica.
I wonder where I got that from.
I have no idea.
I was from this guy.
Um,
Wrong way. This guy right here.
All right, so I already named one of them, American Werewolf in London, because wow, just wow, on every level, it blew me away as a kid, as far as creatures go. That werewolf was hands down my favorite creature ever. Yeah, it was hard to look at other things past that because I compared it way too much to it. You're watching Underworld and you see the werewolves and you're like, oh, they're good, but they're not Ricks.
That transformation's cute, but it's not
Exactly. Yeah, we won't talk about the new Wolfman, which was a good film, but they really should have let him do the transformation. I would have loved to have seen his transformation practical on Benicio del Toro. It would have been amazing. But anyways, second favorite horror film, Hellraiser, the original. That movie kind of shaped me to being who I am today. My parents were very liberal at a young age and were pirates when it came to VHS. So they had the 2 VHS players where they would actually record movies. So, oh yeah. So each tape would have 3 movies on it. So like, I would have my movies like Garbage Pail Kids and Beastmaster and stuff like that. But they wouldn't always put them, just kids movies together. So it might be like Garbage Pail Kids, Beastmaster, and Hellraiser. Well, I'm not going to stop the tape. Let it run. Yeah. Hellraiser was unlike any other horror movie I'd ever seen at that tender young age. When you see Texas Chainsaw Massacre, when you see Nightmare on Elm Street, when you see, Friday the 13th, they're slasher films.
Yeah.
They're going to get hunted. There's going to be this, unstoppable force. Hellraiser was weirdly romantic, I guess, in its sense. And to see that, well, she was trying to bring him back to life. She was doing whatever it would take. And then the scenes, oh my God, the scenes, all that flesh, I was just like getting torn off. Was to see Frank walking around in that visceral form.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Was just, yeah, it was amazing. Absolutely nuts. And then third, the original Night of the Living Dead. It was such a strong piece. And people don't realize just how forward thinking it was for the time.
Yeah.
You get to that end scene and, he gets shot because, do they think he's a zombie? Well, at the time, probably not. Probably just to put him down. It was horrible. But George was, very forward thinking in his storytelling and wasn't afraid to challenge the norm and to challenge things around him. And he wanted to tell the story of, society as a whole, of what was happening in that moment, and he would also have really interesting little nods throughout the Dead movies. Like, Land of the Dead has this great scene where there's a belly button ring that gets pulled out. And It's funny because it's very, it sets the time, when you see that, because that wasn't the 80s. There's a very specific time frame in, America or society as a whole where belly rings came into play. So I love when horror movies do that, when they embrace the things around them, because then it makes it very nostalgic later on, 10, 20 years from now, when you see that and you're like, oh, I remember that. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Absolutely. And to your point, and to George's credit, he was very forward thinking. I mean, hell, the original Night of the Living Dead, the lead role in that film was a black actor, and at that time period, it was very rare to have a lead as a black actor. And in all the interviews that I've ever seen with George, and even asking him, why did he make that decision? His answer is beautiful. It was simple. It was just, he was the guy. He was the guy. He was Ben. It didn't matter what his race was. It didn't matter what he thought. He was Ben. He was that character. He embodied that the minute he had that audition. He chose him because he was the best choice, not because of, something else that was precedent. So I think that's a wonderful, and it's a very, very, in my opinion, happy coincidence that it just so happened to be a black actor, and he was wonderful, and I loved him, and I was sad as hell at the end when he got shot, because what the hell was that? Sorry, mini ranted.
It's okay. And there's two deaths in that break our heart. The end and the beginning, when poor zombie number one, Bill Heinzman, they're coming to get you, Barbara, and they take him out.
I love Mr.
We love
Bell.
Bill. We miss him. Good man. Good actor.
Rest in pieces, Mr.
Yes.
Bell. Yes, Joy is like, I have to watch Hellraiser again. Yes, you do. And Joy, when you watch Hellraiser again, listen to that theme song. That theme song from Hellraiser. You've heard that song before.
Yeah. So when we got married, you know how you come out to, some people come out to music. I kind of came out to the theme of Hellraiser because I figured it was perfect.
You did.
My dad told me it would probably be a cold day in hell before I got married. It was about 50 degrees out there, so it was really fitting. It was perfect.
It definitely was. So now this is actually going to kind of play into the next question that I have for you. And this is a new question that I'm throwing in because I think it's kind of fun. And Stranger Things, the second part of season 4, is going to start this weekend. And I'm so excited, but I'm also scared because I don't want them to kill off characters that I love. So I have to ask you, what song would save you from Vecna?
Bloodhound Gang, Bad Touch. No, I'm kidding.
Are you though? But are you?
Probably A Warm Place by 9 Inch Nails from A Downward Spiral. That song got me through a lot when I was younger, and it was just one of those songs that I would just play and get lost in my own head. So either that or Teresa's Stand Up and Fight.
Yes.
Because that song is just so, it doesn't matter where you're at in your day or how low you are. You put on Teresa's Stand Up and Fight. For anybody that wants to look that up on YouTube later, it's Turstas.
Turistas. Turistas.
I don't know about that, but either way, Stand Up and Fight. Look for the Viking-looking people. The video is amazing.
It is.
It's an amazing band. But yeah, it would be one of those two songs, and maybe Bad Touch at the end, because we're just mammals. You
and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals. That's all the singing you're getting, because, this is not that kind of show. But those are... All right, so The Warm Place is a great song. As you know, we kind of bonded earlier in our relationship over 9 Inch Nails, because it's just... anything that Trent Reznor does, to be honest, in my opinion, is gold. So, and that was a very beautiful and serene song. So... with that, I will say to everyone that has joined us this evening, thank you all so much for hanging out with us. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for your subscriptions. Thank you for your follows. Thank you for your comments. Go ahead and give this video, show us some hearts, boys and girls. I'm going to link all of the clips from the things that JD has done. I'm sure they're all on YouTube. I will find them all and link them in the YouTube video description box, and I'll share them randomly as well so that you guys can go back and watch them. So, JD, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys so much. Seriously, everybody that joined on. I appreciate you guys, seriously. And you guys are the reason I keep doing what I do. So, be excellent to each other.
Aw. All right, guys. So, next up, Next week on the show, actually next Wednesday, we're going to have Whitney and Adam, the owners and troublemakers behind Prometheus Esoterica. They've got an oddities market coming up July 16th. We're going to talk about that oddities market. I will also be at that market vending some coffee, so we're going to chat with them. So make sure that you tune in next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, keep it spooky. Bye.